What happened to the famous lightsaber of Obi-Wan Kenobi following his duel with Vader and his transition into the realm of the Force? Greetings acolytes and welcome back to the archives. The third lightsaber of Obi-Wan Kenobi was his most recognizable, having been constructed after he lost his second one on Geonosis. This new lightsaber design would better suit Kenobi's change in form to Surisu, and be solidified as the symbol of his change from being Qui-Gon Jinn's apprentice to being a full-blown Jedi Master of his own. For the remainder of the Clone Wars into exile, this would be Kenobi's lightsaber that traveled with him until he met his end at the hand of Darth Vader on the Death Star. But the very last time we see Kenobi's iconic lightsaber, it fell lifelessly to the floor once Obi-Wan transcended into the Force, cushioning its fall with the empty cloak of the Jedi. So what happened to the lightsaber after this? Did its adventures end with the death of its owner? Not so, my friends. So join us today as we open a holocron and discover exactly what happened to the lightsaber of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Darth Vader would stare, stunned, confused, and terrified at the empty cloak of the former Jedi. He suddenly had sensed Obi-Wan's presence fill the air around him, and then vanish. Vader originally thought that this was some sort of trick, or a trap of some sort. Obi-Wan had just completely dropped his defenses for no reason before Vader struck him down. But not only did Obi-Wan not have the knowledge to cast such an illusion, Vader felt him die in the Force. His life was extinguished, but there was no explanation for this disappearance. Perhaps it was just a foolish old man's self-sacrifice to delay the inevitable. However, there would be time enough for Vader to ponder on this later. He had finally killed the man who plagued his memories and dreams for years. And just like how Obi-Wan took Anakin's lightsaber on Mustafar, Vader would do the same and claim the weapon of the Jedi. It's assumed that Vader actually kept the lightsaber with him for the remainder of the events of A New Hope. Since Obi-Wan's lightsaber actually survives the explosion of the Death Star, this means that Vader didn't keep it in his quarters on the battle station. Instead, Vader likely either kept it on his person or on his Star Destroyer. The latter is the more likely option, and at some point after the Battle of Yavin, Vader would return to his castle on the world of Bast. As a refresher, this would be Vader's main place of residence in Legends continuity. At least it was around the time of the reign of the Empire. Vader's Bast castle was located on the planet of Vajun, and it actually once belonged to Count Dooku, who used it as a temporary headquarters during the early days of the Clone War. Vader would claim it later in life, and build over the top of the castle that suited his own tastes. It was here, in this dark place, that Vader kept three specific items: a Jedi holocron of unknown origin, a small, handheld hologram picture of Luke Skywalker, and the lightsaber of Obi-Wan Kenobi. We never truly get a view of Vader inside of the castle of Vajun, and we especially don't ever see him interacting with any of these three objects. All of this was discovered post-mortem by Vader's grandchild, Anakin Solo. It wouldn't be until the year 22 ABY that Obi-Wan's lightsaber would make its next appearance. A group of Jedi from Luke Skywalker's academy would be dispatched into the galaxy to seek out and collect Jedi relics. The group consisted of the Jedi historian Tione Solasar, Master Ikrit, Anakin Solo, and two other prospective Jedi students, one of which was named Older Locket. Believing the castle to be abandoned and therefore safe to enter, their only concern was the various traps laid out all over the fortress by Vader. What they didn't know though was that their plans had happened to coincide with that of a man by the name of Orlok, a supposed mage of the dark side who desired to get his hands on Obi-Wan's lightsaber as well as the Jedi holocron. Orlok called himself a mage, but in fact had absolutely no powers, magic, or even a connection to the Force. He was a charlatan who used technology and machinery hidden within his robes to simulate magic and abilities to touch the Force. This pretender, though, had managed to locate both the lightsaber and the holocron before the Jedi did. But right before he made his escape, he was stopped by one of the young learners. This student was a boy brought to Luke who only had the slightest marginality of Force sensitivity. However, his connection to the Force was so insignificant that it didn't appear as though he was going to be able to become a Jedi. Despite this though, the young Jedi Ulder decided to try to prove that Grandmaster Luke was wrong, and the young learner believed that recovering Obi-Wan Kenobi's lightsaber would prove that he was worthy of becoming a Jedi. However, when he came face to face with the false mage, Orlok fooled the boy into thinking that he actually had the ability to touch the Force. He also promised the young boy an easier path to use the gift of the Force, and to become as powerful as he has always wanted, to teach him things that the Jedi never would. The young boy was dubious, but ended up believing him, though before he could accept the charlatan's offer, the rest of the Jedi burst into the room. After a brief battle, Master Ikrit and Tione managed to pull the lightsaber and the holocron from the mage's grasp. Defeating him and surrounding him, the magician made a grand escape in a puff of smoke. Both items would be brought back directly to Luke's Jedi Praxium on Yavin 4, where they were put in Luke's chambers to be examined. But the young Jedi, having been discouraged for the final time from yet another failed test, decided that the only way to get the power that he wanted was to accept the offer of Orlok. So, the young Jedi perspective snuck into Luke's room, stole the holocron and Obi-Wan's lightsaber, and then made off towards the abandoned Exis station, where he knew that Orlok said he would be hiding. At the station, Orlok had the entire place wired with machinery, technology, speakers, and holograms. The entire location controlled by silvery beads within his cloak. With these beads, he could trick anyone that he actually had the power of the Force within his own lair. Mesmerized, the young Jedi prospect gave the tokens to the false mage, who placed Obi-Wan's lightsaber on his belt directly. He then began to train the boy by giving him superficial advice on clearing his mind, telling him to do something such as lift and lower objects. Whenever the boy took Orlok's advice, the mage would simply control the electronics in the station to make it look like the boy had actually moved something. Eventually though, the previous group of Jedi would make their way to the station as well in order to not only rescue the boy, but to reclaim the lightsaber of the Jedi Master Kenobi. There was a struggle at the station, as Orlok used many of his tricks to make it look as though he and Uldur were conjuring storms and manipulating the Force on an advanced level. All the while, he clumsily swung Obi-Wan's lightsaber around in order to intimidate the children. However, the final battle happened when Anakin Solo discovered the central control room where Orlok was making all of his fake magic occur. During the battle, Anakin managed to reclaim Obi-Wan's lightsaber from Orlok's belt and used it to slash the liar's cloak, damaging the control circuits and revealing to the young Jedi his trickery. Now defeated, and with no more tricks, Orlok escaped again in a puff of smoke, but this time, he would never return. Anakin and his friends returned to Yavin 4, where the young Jedi had realized all of the mistakes that he had made, and promised to apologize to Luke, and that Obi-Wan's lightsaber would be placed back firmly with the Grand Master. This would be the very last time that Obi-Wan's lightsaber would be seen or mentioned in all of Legends lore. We can assume that either Luke kept it on display, or had it with him in his own chambers to remember his master fondly. However, the lightsaber had a grand impact on the young Anakin Solo. Since it had been one of the first lightsabers that he actually used, it made a big impression on him, and Anakin would loosely model the design of his first lightsaber after that of Obi-Wan's, just like Grandmaster Luke did. But anyway, my friends, this is everything that happened to the lightsaber of Obi-Wan Kenobi following his death. It's comforting to know that such an important artifact belonging to one of the most influential Jedi Masters ever got one last adventure before being put away and retired for good in the hands of the Grand Master, being left safely in the possession of the Jedi and given a place of honor. But tell us, my friends, had you ever wondered the full story of what happened to the legendary Jedi Master's weapon? And does this story comfort you about its end? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. And as always, my friends, may the Force be with you.